So here we are, season finale of season 3 of the Righteous Gemstones. And it's a big one. It is two episodes in one. So I'm going to do both of them back to back. This might be long. I took copious notes. I loved this finale. I just have to say that up front. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I love all of the Righteous Gemstones finales. Usually they wrap them up so well and so taking such care that they could serve as not just season finales, but also series finales, just in case HBO didn't pick them up again after everything was filmed. I love that there's always a theme of redemption in the end. There always is. A bunch of crazy stuff happens, and then at the end we think, oh, yeah. So that's what that was about. So I'm not going to give any overview of what each episode was about because, again, this is a redemption arc. So I'm going to get right into this. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I wrote for Pathos for over 10 years, a column called No Longer Quivering, where I wrote about evangelical, quiverful, high-demand religious organizations. These places that are non-denominational, and we used to go out to big ministries like televangelists to have conferences and things. So I'm kind of familiar with that world too, because for many years I was on worship team, the place we were. And being on worship team was a weird thing in and of itself. You got to see how the sausage was made, and that's why I think I have latched on to the Righteous Gemstones, and I absolutely love it because they show a lot of that. This is how the sausage is made stuff behind the scenes with church people, with evangelical, non-denominational folks. So when we left off last episode, the Montgomerys had kidnapped Jesse, Judy, and Kelvin. And Gideon had been a badass. He went in there and he just wrecked all of their stuff with Redeemer, F yeah, the truck they had, the stock car truck. And it was just the most awesome thing ever. So that's where we start. And the episode started with they were all in the hospital, Jesse, Judy, and Kelvin, getting checked out to make sure they're okay because they'd been kidnapped for a few days. And I loved the reunions between the various pairs, Judy and BJ, Amber and Jesse and the kids, and Keith and Kelvin. It was good to see when people put down all their BS and they actually just appreciate the love of their lives. I've said before, I've talked about this. 9/11 happened. My husband disappeared for some hours. He worked in DC. When he came home, we had exactly that kind of reunion. So I can tell you what that feels like. It feels fantastic. You're like you beat the final boss. There you are. Any angry words that you said recently are just completely water under the bridge. So they had that. And I'm looking at my notes. I can't believe it. I wrote down Evil Skeletor. Somebody said that, but I can't remember who they were talking about or what. But I just busted out laughing. I thought that was the funniest thing. And they all, Judy, Kelvin, and Jesse, get onto their daddy for no ransom payment. So there's blame, lots of blame. And in some of these evangelical churches, you'll see that. You'll see blame laid at the feet of various and sundry people and things just because it can be. Do I think Eli screwed up by not paying the Montgomerys the bribe? Probably. But at the same time, I can see why I didn't, because the Montgomerys seem kind of like sad sacks. And I laughed over Keith smashing the trash can in the ER like boo over his head. He was so upset with it all. And then everyone congregates at one of their houses, and Carl, big Carl, he owns it all. he talks about why he could not go through with the kidnapping, why he left, why he was able to get his mother, May May, to help him. And it was interesting because Judy almost melted down. She was having herself quite the emotional time. But then again, anybody would. And then all the kids turned on Eli yet again and blamed him. Blame, blame, blame. And Peter owned up to his followers that they had to up and move, and he wanted to bring on Armageddon with a bomb. So that's what all the stuff was that we saw Big Carl and his brother getting that time. All the ammonium nitrate fertilizer was for Peter to build this big season-ending bomb, which is kind of what I thought was going to happen from the moment I saw that that's what they were bringing to him. I figured it's got to be a season-ending bomb. Gotta be. Eli is still being blamed. And May apologized for her kids. And there was some talk about saving the kids, both sets of kids. And somebody, I think it was Jesse, made this comment: we just don't blow smoke up each other's butts, when he's talking about how much they loved each other. And I had to laugh. Peter takes his bomb truck on the road, and Peter Montgomery, and they're on the interstate, and there's a whole line of Jeeps and trucks and vehicles following Peter, and Peter is going, it looks like the speed of a snail, because everybody is honking at him and going around him on the left. And there's some arguing over who's actually in charge of the group. There's some rivalries responsible to try to take down Peter. And Peter tells them, roll your eyes to the Lord, because the guy who was trying to take over was rolling his eyes at him. They had a big meeting in the parking lot. And then Peter utters one of those other things that's very common in evangelical churches: a manipulative prayer, a prayer that puts the blame at other people's feet, that manipulates whoever's listening to do what Peter wants. It is just a whole pile of you know what. And they went to all of the kids and their spouses or significant others in their homes and showed what they were up to. And I got a huge laugh out of Judy and BJ. They were in a tub. First of all, I'm envious as hell they have a tub, because I don't have one of those here. I wish I did. So they have this big tub, this gorgeous bathroom in front of these windows, and they're playing not reindeer games, they're playing the dirty games, the sex games in the tub, and I'm just laughing at them. I'm laughing at BJ telling Judy what she needs is a, quote, really good deep effing. Can't say the F word on the YouTubers, or they'll get you. Keith gives Kelvin a massage and asks if Kelvin is dating Taryn. And Keith is, Kelvin is very quick to deny that and tell Kelvin he's not attracted to her at all, and that he would never, and that Keith is the best, and all of that. So we got to see them nudge the ball a little closer to actually admitting their attraction for one another. Jesse buys everybody their own custom four-wheeler, and his son Pontius really gives him some crap during that scene, along with everybody else, because he stopped dyeing his sideburns. His sideburns were back to being gray again. They'd been gray all the way up until they were black when he started dyeing them when he took over the church. And Pontius says the funniest thing about Jesse's sideburns. He calls them two big black dicks dangling down the side of your face. And it's kind of true. I never noticed it before, but once he said that, I was like, oh my gosh. That is the best description of those stupid dyed things yet. And Jesse has grown enough after the kidnapping incident to admit that he's jealous of Amber's the sister program. He's jealous that she found her groove in her ministry. But then he pledges to support her. He thinks it's an awesome thing, blah, blah, blah. And that is a good thing. And then we have the militia. We're back to Peter, the Montgomerys, and their own little homegrown militia. They're under the interstate overpass, and everybody's milling around wondering what in the heck Peter is up to and why they are under an overpass. And I think someone went and, yeah, and Peter is building a detonator for his bomb. There's more rebellion. There's more people challenging for control. He calls them a bunch of ungrateful dummies. Eli starts talking to Gideon when Gideon's driving around, because this season we've seen Gideon be Eli's driver. And Gideon starts giving Eli life advice, and it's not really bad. It's something that's necessary. And then we hit what I think is the theme for both of these episodes: not shame, not manipulation. It's what Chuck tells Carl. What Carl tells Chuck when Chuck calls Carl from the bomb in the parking lot after some of the problems that have gone on with the militia. Well, no, I'm sorry, they're not in the parking lot yet. Chuck calls Carl. I'm sorry. I'm discombobulated by the rain and the copious amounts of asthma drugs I'm on today, so I do apologize. Chuck calls Carl. Carl utters the best advice of all, and I think it's the theme of these two episodes. He says, Chuck, just come home. And isn't that like one of the big messages of Christianity? We have that going on over and over and over and over again, from the story of the prodigal son to the things Jesus said: just come home, just come home, just come home. Reminds me of a song I used to love. Salvation springs up from the ground, and it talks about, let all the prodigals run home. Just come home. So then we see the siblings in the restaurant they always go to for the Sunday after church thing. But they're sitting in the main dining room at a little table, and they're eating together and they're meeting and they're talking about everything they've been through. Everybody starts busting Jesse on his sideburns. It was pretty funny. Jesse calls Eli a dickhead. Then Jesse asks his siblings to come back to the church. He says he needs them to run the church. They accept him and they all hold hands. And it feels, when you watch them holding hands for the first time, it feels like it's really an intimate step they're taking. And we all know that intimacy occurs in true humility, true state of vulnerability, and when we touch. Those things happen. So they're holding hands instead of high-fiving. Anybody can high-five, but not everybody can handle the intimacy of holding hands. So for them, that's huge. They're unified now. So it looks like the militia under the interstate is getting Fancy Nancy's chicken. And we have a lot of really silly squabbling about who gets what. And then there's more rebellion. Marshall, the guy who keeps rebelling and keeps questioning Peter, wants to split off and form his own group, the Keepers of Yesterday's Monuments. And if you can't tell what that is, the Keepers of Yesterday's Monuments is like, it's kind of like a rebellion against the people who want to take down the Civil War monuments. And the thing is, the Civil War monuments, they're a whole different ball of wax. And I know a lot of people in churches that want them there. that support the notion of slavery still, even though I say, oh no, that was bad. Then you listen to them talking and you know that. So these guys are just part of that. And, there's a time for everything under the sun. The Bible talks about that. And perhaps it's time that those things be pulled down. But these guys are aggressive. They leave Chuck and Peter filled with nothing except the truck filled with explosives. That's it. That's all they take away. Baby Billy finally appears for this reunion, and he kind of referees a meeting between the siblings and Eli about the ransom issues. And there are some really funny things said, including Kelvin talking about butthole shavings. And the siblings conclude that their father Eli only cares about money, and that would be an easy thing to come to. He claims it's only about them, that the money, all of it's only about them. They all blow raspberries and say, bonk, BS. But Eli is tickled that they're working together. He's seeing them as a functioning unit like we are, and that makes it all worth it for him. Now, I thought that this scene foreshadowed Eli's death, but thankfully I was wrong. I'm not going to go any more than that. And then we get baby Billy moonwalking his way out of the room. Too funny. The return of the three. And then we see the most shocking thing of all. And it's been such a long time coming. I squealed and screamed, yes! Kelvin kissed Keith. KKK, kissed Keith. For real. Not like a peck on the cheek, not like I would kiss my cat on the head, but a real kiss. And it was just the payoff we needed. Jesse said the dumbest thing that you could say, and it really relates to what I was talking about this morning for Taco Tuesday. The thing that I was talking about for Taco Tuesday was about church playing victim. Victim, victim, victim. Can't tell a victim without a scorecard. So Jesse says, we can finally play the victim. Please don't do that. Don't ever do that. Watch my video today about Taco Tuesday and see where that's wrong. Okay, I'm going to end this. I'm going to do part 2 in just a minute. This is the end of the first half. Peter calls the FBI and the militia, who follow the militia and haul them away. And Chuck and Peter are going to church.